right, Aldo.
Sound as a pound.
I'm custy that.
But there's nothing down.
The rest of the lads ain't got it sussed.
We'll have to learn them to talk like us.
No, they don't talk like we do. Judy Dola.
No, we'll have to learn them to talk proper. Okay, that's the Anfield Drop for you. That's the end of that. So we thought we'd get that out of the way.
That's a good start. That's a good start.
Did get to number 3 in the break.
2.
No, 2, sorry.
But number 2.
Welcome to Aldo Meets in conjunction with the Hotel Anfield. Episode 19. Already, it's gone so fast. And I'm absolutely delighted to have my own mucker, my own mate, another South Ender, Steve McMahon with me, along with Peter Shriversman and James Pearce. So you're all welcome. But more importantly, how are you doing, pal?
I'm good. Just off the golf course, so it's been a lovely day today, mate. And I'm leading at the moment. So I just told you.
You're leading, aren't you?
I'm leading, yeah. But so
there's a field of 100, and you're.
There's a field of about. It's the first competition day of the golf season, and I'm actually in front at the moment. But for how long, I don't know.
Let's hope so, mate. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So that's it.
But that's it.
See you next time.
Good night, good night, God bless.
Tell us. Actually, this might happen all through the podcast because me and Matt can have good banter. We're really good mates and we have a laugh. So a lot of shite's going to come up in the next hour or so. But tell everyone what you're up to now. Obviously, we do the work for Liverpool hospitality, don't we? And what else are you up to?
Well, before I've been away for 16 years or so.
Singapore, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I can say as a scout, usually when a scouser says he's been away for 16 years, it usually means he's been in jail. But I can honestly say I haven't. I've travelled Australia 12 months and then Singapore for 10 years and then Malaysia for almost 6 years. So I've done my fair share of travelling, seeing the world and doing lots for Liverpool in the meantime. So it's been brilliant as it happens, and I'm back here to this shithole.
No,
it doesn't mean Hotel Anfield, just for
no, sorry, I don't mean this particular shithole. Just in general. But
we have the great banter to the ex-players, and I mentioned it to some of the players we've had on the previous shows. You know, we really enjoy, especially like this season and, you know, seasons on the air and, you know, the day of the match, because we do our little bit of hospitality, then we have a meal together. You always get a big bowl of chips, don't you? The chips are fantastic. And nice, just a little glass of wine with the meal, and then we watch the game. Most times we win, and then we'll have a quick glass of wine on the way home or a pint, and we counsel each other, you know, and we've become very clannish again, you know, from all day. So the special days, you know, aren't they, Bill?
It's a unique setup we have, to be honest with you. And everyone says the same thing. Whoever we meet in company, saying, well, we don't realise how close you are together. There's at least 16, 18 sometimes that go to the games and do all the hospitality. So a very close-knit pack. We have a great laugh, both on and off the pitch.
Steve, what have you started? You started recently working with schools, no? You told me, and that sounds inspirational.
Listen, without going into great detail about me personally, my health issues that I've had, but it's been difficult times for me over a period of 3 or 4 years. But I've come through and everything's great. So in order for me to give something back, schools have invited me to do some mental health stuff, which I'm okay now. I'm all right to do that. But it's great for me to get out there, get in the faces of the youngsters and tell them about my trials and tribulations. And it's real. And once you see these youngsters who need just to talk to, because the parents, for whatever reason, there's a lot of drug problems in Liverpool and alcoholic problems, obviously, for families. And these youngsters, some of them can't stick to the school programs that they do. And I'm there to lend a helping hand and give them some advice as best I can. Brilliant. And it seems to be working. So I'm there tomorrow. So I'm going to up it from 1 day a week to 2 or 3 days a week.
Amazing.
So it gives you an enormous amount of pleasure putting back something into the community.
You get a lot back yourself.
You get a lot back yourself personally, yeah.
That's brilliant.
So it's good.
And I think it's, for me, just very briefly, the right moment to mention that when we bought this hotel 5 years ago, it was a month before the global pandemic. And Steve really was the first person that we really sat down with, that we developed a relationship with. And you've been so supportive of us, even like at a time when we plowed everything we got into the hotel, seemingly lose it with it being shut down after 3 games. But you were there from the start. And then you introduced me to this wrong here at an event where Jan Molby couldn't make it last minute, and the rest is history. So Steve, we owe you a lot. So
you don't owe me anything.
We owe Jan a lot for not turning up.
Yeah, I told him that. Yeah, I told him. Yeah.
Peter, you don't owe me nothing, mate. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. Good people deserve good things, and
well, he tried it. Yeah,
thank you.
And it wasn't easy times for everyone.
No,
COVID. You put a lot of money and time and effort into this wonderful setup, and a number of other events that you do. So fair play, you deserve everything you get, and that's me saying that 100%. You stuck by it, you've stuck with it, and you come through the other side. So
I mean, it feels like a distant memory now. It's been 5 years, and obviously it leads us nicely to the next part as well, because now we're having a good time as a hotel, as people, as Liverpool supporters, because of how Liverpool plays, and the success that, the last 2 weeks have been a bit bruising, but that we are going to have. How much have you been enjoying watching Liverpool this season so far?
Up until 6 weeks ago, maybe. Listen, my team talk, if I'm on this slot tonight, my team talk is, listen, this little bad spell that we went on, and it started coincided with the game at Goodison, the derby, the last minute goal. It started realistically on that day. We have to get them demons out of the way.
Yeah.
That game especially has got to get put to bed.
Yeah.
Then we had the PSG over 2 legs. Them 2 have got to be put to bed. Then we had the Carabao Cup final, Newcastle. Put it to bed. And the only way we can put this to bed is by winning this game. That is the biggest thing I'd say to the players. Get this victory out of the way. We can then put all bad results that we've had recently and now concentrate on what's ahead of us, which is the title, which is what we would have settled for come the start of the season.
Just need to get back on track, and a large dose of confidence needed, and like this before the Everton game, as you know, no better team or no better game really to get back on track.
Yeah. We'll have our day. You know, Newcastle have had theirs. Well, they've had 2 weeks of it. You know what I mean? Carabao Cup, and they've had 2 weeks of nonsense. Which is a bit over the top, I've got to say. And Everton are wallowing in the fact that we've had a dodgy period. But we're going to win the league. It's simple as. So imagine when we win that league out of COVID. Because the last time we won it was in COVID.
Yeah.
So imagine.
The fans missed out on a lot.
Fans are going to go absolutely mental, and rightly so. And it's going to be a party of all parties. So let's win it first. Man. Well, I've got no doubt about that. So watch out. Watch out, you blue noses.
What
have you made of the job that Arne Slot's done? Because of course, a year ago, people were worrying about how on earth Liverpool would cope in the absence of Jurgen Klopp.
Me included. Everybody was, because you follow in the footsteps of a top manager for this football club and a person, and he got us back to a certain level. And I don't think anyone would have quite believed that we could be in this position. Yes, as I say, take them games out, the important games that we just lost. But would he settle for winning the league at the start of the season?
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And he's done a magnificent job. I mean, it's not swashbuckling by any means, but it's good football and it's winning football. And that's what you need. And to be consistent, win the league, that's the type of football you have to play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I was just saying there? You know, just going away from that, just where it all started from when you were a kid. We're both Southampton. I'm from Garsh, which is just not fast. You got Speaking, then you got Aylwood. So you know,
there's a main road basically.
You know, Mrs. from Mons Cross, which is there. But you know, your childhood, which I know a lot. I knew your dad, who was a massive. He was a great fella. We had good times when we played for Liverpool after the games, a few bevies and all that with your family. What was it like growing up? Obviously, you were a big Evertonian family. I knew about you when you were a kid because you get to know, because the same age group more or less, you know, at the kids and just the ones after you, that you were up and coming. You were a very good player. You were expected to go progress into Everton's reserve team and the first team. What was it like in them early days?
It was difficult, although because, I was brought up Everton.
Yeah.
I was obviously a ball boy behind the goals. My favourite player was Alan Ball.
What a player.
What
a man as well.
He was in my sort of stature,
Soul,
small and fairly aggressive and strawberry blonde. Well, that's what they call it. Is that you, strawberry blonde?
No, it's not. It's not.
Are you ginger?
Are
you
blonde.
ginger?
He's just ginger. He's
not
just
ginger.
Now,
You die at ginger. You die
This
at
will be
ginger.
cut out of the podcast.
So I grew up as an Evertonian family, everything else, but living in the shadows of Liverpool because Liverpool was so successful and dominant. And for me then to play in the first team and getting beat every time we played Liverpool, it didn't help. It didn't help being from Halewood and going to school. And all Liverpoolians give me stick.
It was horrible in them days. No, none you went to school and the derbies. I'm telling you now, when we were young, you go on, the day of the game, butterflies and stuff, you were shit scared of having to go to school on the Monday, getting stick off the Evertonian lads or vice versa. It was a horrible feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In them days.
It was
you can't explain it really.
No, you can't. And I try and people ask me what it was like. And I said, well, it was difficult. And I always say, remember, Rush scored 1, Rush scored 2, Rush scored 3, and Rush scored 4. Well, I played for Everton that game. And when you're getting beat 5-0 at home, and Rushy scores 4, and people remember that game as if it was yesterday, it's not easy to take. And the Blue Noses has the audacity to say, why did you leave? I wanted to be successful. So I left and they won the league. I left in 83 and Everton won the league in 84. So it just so happened that it didn't work out for 12 months or so, but it came back around. So within 18 months or so after me going to Aston Villa, I became a Liverpool player and we went on to win the league and cups and everything else that went with it. So retribution was sweet. Yeah. It really was.
Big shout what you did. Big shout. And I know you went to Villa in between. We've talked about it many times. But it's a big shout and, it's courageous to do what you did. But then it's easy to say now. But it's logical. Because Everton were on the tail. Everton, really good side. Don't forget, they were really good
side. 2 years, they had a great side,
You seen what was best for you.
I did. You're right, mate, yeah. And I could see what was happening. And then I couldn't turn Liverpool down a second time. I could have joined in 83.
Yeah.
And I didn't, for obvious reasons, families and everything else that goes with it. But so I joined in 85 to be Kenny's first signing. And when Kenny come calling for the second time, I just could not turn that opportunity down. And it went from strength to strength, having signed for Liverpool. And that's when I became sort of an England player, won trophies, and became a sort of part of the furniture for Liverpool. I'm sitting here now with Aldo, who again had his journey, and he's in folklore of Liverpool players. We work at Liverpool home games, we travel with them, we do all kinds of extra stuff for them. And it's amazing how we've been treated, having just been a player. We're part of the furniture at times now, and it's wonderful. It really is fantastic to come back and do what we do.
So when you left Everton in 83, could you just not agree a new contract? Was that the issue? Howard Kendall was manager then, wasn't he?
Howard Kendall was manager, and he offered me a so-called lucrative contract. He told everyone that it was lucrative. Now, £10 a week extra, I don't think was lucrative by any stretch of the imagination. And I've been on my contract for 3 years. Since I was 18, I was 21. I've been on the same contract. And for him to come out and openly say, I had refused this contract for £10 a week extra. Well, he didn't name exactly how much it was, but it was a lucrative. The word's lucrative, which in the Evertonians' mind was greedy.
Yeah.
So basically, I've left Everton because of money and because of greed, and it certainly that wasn't the case. But he spun it round, and obviously he had his reasons and whatever it is. But I had to leave for my own
Did you just keep quiet and take it? Because you must have had a lot of criticism.
I did. I took it, but it wasn't the end thing then. I think you're talking about where players didn't have a soapbox to jump on.
Right.
It was almost you had to bite the bullet.
Right.
But it's only in years that have gone by when Evertonians have accused me, greed, leaving for all the wrong reasons, and that wasn't the case.
You didn't have an agent either, Bill, did you?
No, I didn't have an agent.
So that's I was strong mentally. Steve was going about this. You didn't have the help of an agent or someone to guide him through it. It was yourself that went and did what you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I just got some advice from people, and you can go to PFA. But I knew that offering me a contract was derogative. It was embarrassing, to be honest. I give him 3 years.
You were captain. Yeah.
I was captain. And you knew I was an Evertonian. You knew I was brought up as an Everton, and it was a custard in my face.
Right.
And I remember that game when 5-0, and Glenn Keeley made his debut from Blackburn. Made his debut for Everton from Blackburn on loan, and he got sent off after 37 minutes, I think it was. And just as well, because if they stayed on it, there'd be an 8-0.
and I guess if money was the big motivation, you would have just gone to Liverpool in '83.
Absolutely.
Because I guess that would have been
proper pay. I would have seen Bob Paisley.
Yeah.
And we had talks because it was out of contract, but it was still settled by a tribunal, the fee. And Bob said, I don't care what Villa have offered you and what have you, but we will double whatever they've offered you. We want you to be at this football club, because Souness was leaving to go to Sampdoria. So it was something that I nearly did. But I had the fortune to 18 months down the line to have that opportunity once again, because I thought it might have been gone. And fortunately enough, it came back and I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
It's funny, in the early days, was I remember playing against Steve. When I was in the early days in Newport County in Division 3, we drew Everton, and first of all in the League Cup, at home, two-legged affair. And I remember we were talking on the pitch, two scouts were talking on the pitch. I was at Newport, Mac was Everton. We got beat 2-0. Then we went to Goodison Park and we did really well. I think it was 2-2 there, but we got knocked out on. But then the other time was we drew Everton in the third round of the FA Cup at Summit Park, full house. It's mad because on terraces it was tribal in them days. So you had Everton there, you had Newport there. Cardiff and Millwall game was called off the third round.
So they just came along.
So you got Cardiff, Millwall, Newport and Everton. It was I'll never forget.
That is crazy.
Chaos. So anyway, it's all going off all around the ground. But we were winning 1-0. David Guida scored. And I was like, that thing, come on. And Kevin Sheedy, 91st minute, took this pop shot from 35 yards. I went under our goalkeeper, Mark Kendall, 1-1. And we went to Everton in the replay. I'll never forget. Jim Arnold was in goal. I scored one of the best goals I've ever scored in my life. We were getting beaten 1-0 and the ball came overhead kick. The goal's there. So done overhead scissor kick and it's gone bang, straight into the top corner or thereabouts. Mackie said to me, that doesn't count. Jim Arnold was in goal. But then I think Sharpie's playing up top with Andy Gray, and I think Sharpie got the winner 2-1. So I got to know Bill through that, and he got to know me in the early days, So it was great times, and it was great to actually play against back and see him at first. And I knew then, and how good he was, and he ran the show midfield.
Yeah.
And obviously a 350 grand fee. You were Kenny Dalglish's first signing.
375.
Well, you had the 25 grand extra.
25 extras, yeah. But I got more than that. But
they never declared that.
Okay, that's not.
No. In them days, I'll just say, but Mac is right, because whenever you moved, there was 25,000. You were allowed tax-free ex gratia payments. So every time you moved once, you could move 2 or 3 times. Whenever in the year.
But if you got any more after that, you'd have to be taxed on that. Right. But you could get 25 grand.
Either way, you were Kenny Dalglish's first signing, and then in your third appearance, you play at Goodison
Blue Noses
against Everton. You score. That must have
the
been
winning
fun.
goal.
What are your memories? What do you
it's
think?
funny. Well,
the Blue Noses.
First of all, it was my third game in, so I've only been there at Liverpool for 10 days. I was still living in the Prince of Wales Hotel. So my sister-in-law, who's the PA to David Moyes now, and she has been for PA to the managers for the past 10 years, so she's seen off 9 of them, I think. So she did say, listen, I can get you a car park and pass outside the ground, and you can get off quick. I said, no problem. So I said to Kenny, I'm okay to go straight to the game, park my car, go in, play the game. He said, that's fine, no problem. Goes, plays the game, obviously. I daresn't say it, but it was like I thought my first name was Fuck Off. I mean, okay to swear on the show?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
All you like.
So Fuck Off McMahon was ringing out all over the place. I mean, so when you had a full stadium of Blue Noses and there's only a few thousand Reds shouting Fuck Off McMahon, then I was like, bring it on. Because it was good to me. I didn't mind that. And we ended up, we won 3-2, and I ended up scoring a winning goal, which I wasn't very pleased about. I was delighted. They say you shouldn't celebrate against your old club.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say. What a load of shite. Like, I was like Forrest Gump. If the gates would have been open, I'd have still been running down there now. It was one of the best films I've had in a long, long time. Sensational. And it goes out, and have we got time for this little story? So it goes out, I'm in the dressing room, gets changed quickly, and I goes round the corner. I'm looking for my car. I'm thinking, I'm sure I parked my car somewhere outside here. And I goes around the corner, and behind this white van was what's left of my car. It was in pieces.
No.
Yeah,
Seriously?
It was like a Lego set, a kid's Lego set at Christmas. So the wheels were still there. Usually the wheels are gone, aren't they, in the car? But it was in pieces, in bits. Anyway, didn't let it bother me, and I went and had a few beers with my father-in-law. Same again on Sunday with me. I went to my mum and dad, said, hey, Wood. I knocked at the door and he said, fuck off.
That your dad?
Yeah.
And his brothers as well.
And my brothers and my mum
Yeah.
and everybody else. So it gave me great pleasure. So Monday morning I'm thinking, I better sort myself out with a car. So I rang Steve Stride at Aston Villa. And I said, Steve, it's Macca. He went, hi Macca, how are you doing? I said, fine. I said, sorry, it's been 10 days. I've been busy. I had all my stuff going on, and this, that and the other. He said, it's okay, Macca, I understand. What can I do for you? I said, you can come and pick your car up. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I've had it for 10 days or so. I said, so you can come and pick it up. He said, okay, yeah, where is it? I said, it's at the back of the goal, the park end at Everton. And before he could say any more, I put the phone down. And I haven't spoke to him since. So when all the Blue Noses thought he'd smashed my car in, it was Everton's car. It was Aston Villa's car that they smashed, not mine.
On that note.
On that note.
This is Aldo Meets with Peter, Macca and James. End the part one. We'll be back shortly. Hi everyone, welcome to Aldo Meets with part 2 with Steve McMahon this week, episode 19. I think we've got to talk really about, obviously, the dressing room. You got in the dressing room before me, and there's big characters in that dressing room when you go in. Like when I went in, you my heroes. So, I've gone in there, I was like, didn't know how to mix or whatever, but you got to stamp your personality on this. Like you go in there, what was your initial reaction? Because they are the big names, aren't they? You're thinking, and you go in there straight away, they take the piss. They test you out. They take no more so than the jockey one. Yeah. So how was your initial reaction and getting it, getting yourself, into bed with the lads?
Yeah. I was actually all right, honestly. I embraced it. You know, all of a sudden you were Ronnie Whalen, you were Alan Hansen, Ian Rush, and you know Kenny wasn't actually with us in the dressing room because
Suey had gone then, hadn't he?
Suey just left. But big names, and I settled in well. It didn't faze me, which I think it helped me hitting the ground running. You know, it didn't take me long at all, maybe 24 hours to settle in.
Did you think it helped you moving to Southport? Because when I look back, when I joined Liverpool, Kenny and Marina took me up there. Said I could see why now. You know, move up to Southport to get away from. But I'm a Southend, and I'm thinking I'll handle all this. But I did get myself into a little bit of trouble on a couple of occasions. You know, two or three occasions I got locked up for a few hours once. And anyway, But anyway, without them story, I think no, that was I was wound up. But I could see where Steve did. That was probably the right decision to get out the way and go to Southport, if that makes sense.
It does, mate. Yeah, and you're spot on. And I mean, it was your dream move, and all your friends, family, and everything else were just like, wow, this is amazing. And you can get drawn into that. You can, and you can see why you can. And I would have been the same. So not just only because I play for Everton as well. And it was more important for me to get out of the city of itself. And I didn't hear the noises coming out from Liverpool as much as I would have done if I was there.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
And it helped me settle in as best I could. So you know, I'm only 45 minutes away down the road.
Yeah, it's not.
You know, down to 57. So I could go down and see my dad every Sunday, have a beer with him and game of dominoes. So it didn't change in that way, but it changed in the fact that I didn't have my friends and family 24/7. So I was able to step aside, you know.
Step back. Look, that enabled you in the first season. Didn't realise I scored 10 goals in 36 games from midfield, no penalties. Yeah. That's a great rate. That's a tremendous rate of goals in it. I felt because that wasn't your job. Your job was to run the midfield and dominate and you know win the titles and to be fair, when I played, you'd one more so than Ronnie was the one that had the license to try and get forward, didn't you? And go past the centre forwards. You know, we linked up quite a few times and all that. So, but them stats are really good. First time I've seen that.
Yeah, I mean. Because you're playing in such a good side with great players, that you know that if it went up to you, then I'd be third man running. You don't see it anymore. Yeah. Not in the modern game. Yeah. We've scored a few goals from midfield this year with the midfield player getting in the box. But when I was playing, it was always up back to Aldo back, and I was already on the way.
That's right, yeah.
I was already on the move.
Running,
and when you've got Ronnie sitting there and covering and top players who knew that if I went, then someone else vacated the space.
Do you know what, Naka? That sort of pisses me off at time. And I know formation change and all that, but that's so basic. That's so logical. Just have there, and it's like that. One goes one stage, and you don't get put out of its position and all that. The modern days change because all these stupid formations. Well, some say stupid, different formations. But that is so logical, and it works.
You can get over complicated about the game, and you have to help the strikers. You have to have someone who's going to take the defenders away from the strikers. If you don't, then the defenders, it's easy to mark the strikers because they can just go tight with them. If you've got a midfield player running beyond, the defenders don't know whether to run with the midfield player going.
And no man's land of his side.
Yeah, that's right. And it frees that centre forward up, and we did it really well between us. And I think that's just knowing the game. And I was always brought up to, as a midfield player, that you're allowed to defend and you're allowed to score goals. Yeah. Now you've got a number 6. Now you've got a number 6 who just is not allowed to go over the halfway line, and you've got a number 10 who's not allowed to come back over the halfway line. Yeah. So number 10, number 6. Who's going to do the rest of the work?
Yeah.
So I was of the opinion that midfield players, that you're allowed to go front, go past the strikers, try and score a goal. By the way, when it breaks down, I've got to run back and try and defend as well. And I don't see that in the modern day game. I see it occasionally, but not on a regular basis.
You just the only thing about that season, just a little bit of frustration at the end because you were on the bench for the Everton Cup final, wasn't it?
Well, I've ripped my hamstring in the semis.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
I ripped my hamstring in the semis against Southampton at White Hart Lane.
2-0, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Mark Wright was playing.
That's why it's 2-0.
So that we could,
All right, righty. All right, mate.
Yeah, I think he gave the 2 goals away. Well, I think he broke his leg that game.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And I ripped my hamstring. And it was 6 weeks later, it was the final. And I trained for 4 days before the cup final. And it was only one. No, I was okay. But remember, that was the last cup final, one substitute. There was 85, 86 was the last cup final. And there was only one sub, and I got the one sub. Although I wasn't probably 100% fit. Kenny named me sub, so I was the 12th man on the day, which I was happy just being a 12th man, considering I hadn't played a game for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So
you got the medal.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
The double.
Right, the double,
the double, yeah.
So that's how that came about.
Yeah.
So from winning the double in 85, 86, obviously the following season ends trophyless. So you lose the League Cup final to Arsenal that season, and then Kenny reshapes the team. Obviously, Aldo comes in from Oxford. Then you've got Barnes, Beardsley, Houghton. I mean, how important do you think that kind of reshaping of the team was that year?
Well, I think it was the best side we had.
Do you think it went on to be better than the team that won the double?
Yes, without a doubt. 88 was probably the best team that we had in a long, long time.
The balance was there.
The balance was there.
The balance was amazing.
And when Aldo came in, obviously he was the focal point. Barnesy was obviously catalyst to a lot of things that happened. Ray Houghton was the legs over the right hand side, and it just worked. It was like a machine. We just knew exactly what was going on in and around it. And the amount of amazing goals we scored. Always remember his goals in the semi-finals at Hillsborough. Brilliant goals, absolutely spot on, and that's what he did best in between the posts, in between the 18-yard boxes. That was his domain.
Yeah. No, absolutely spot on.
You know, forget down the channels, because he wasn't interested in down the channels. And I'd be surprised the assists for Aldo would be very few. But he'd be in there. You'd get your fair share of flick-ons and stuff. But if
one for you, Middlesbrough, remember little over that little.
Yeah, you know, but you couldn't do anything else because I was running.
It's a good finish around there, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. But what I'm saying is he was a proper predator. Yeah. That 18-yard box was me. That's mine.
That's you know, you look like from I've spoke about that team, which it was just amazing. The balance was off the scale. But I'm looking. I'm the only player playing with back towards goal. I'm looking at Bruce and defenders like Venice and Lotto, Stick,
Jockey,
Steve McMahon or Abbo, God rest his soul. Then I'm looking at Jan or Steve or Ronnie. Then you're looking at Ray and Peter and Barnesy. Not me. I only want 1 or 2 touches or edit down to one of them. Then I just move around, get in the box, get my position up, mark it up, and the service I got. You know, it's wonderful. With the first year, I was unlucky to win it, not to win it the second year. But the service I got from them was just immaculate. And I think what epitomises that team in many ways, and some of the goals of that season were spectacular. But again, we talked about it earlier on. People seem to talk, when we and Steve go for a beer, or people see us, they always go to that goal against Arsenal when we panned Arsenal. It should have been 4 or 5 that day. And the first goal, we were on top of them, and they were off the line hitting the ball. And then when it's run out of play, Steve did that unbelievable
keeps it in
piece of play, and you sent the fullback for a pack of crisp and a can of Coke, didn't you? He ended up in the stands, didn't he?
Well, they tried to, because we penned them in.
Was that Winterbourne?
Yeah, we penned them in.
Player in, by the way.
Yeah, we penned them in. It was the cop end, and for a few minutes, and then he tried to clear. I think it was Adams tried to clear it and knock it out of play, and it would have been a throw for us. So I made, because they were all over the shop.
Whereas people this day and age would let it go out of play.
And have a breather.
You broke your bollocks to go and keep it in, didn't you?
Well, because I knew they were all over the shop. And Arsenal, to get Arsenal's shape all over the place, it takes some doing. That's what they did, just stuck like glue. and I knew that I kept it in, then we'd have a chance. So they pushed me out. I kept running to the crowd. They pushed me out. I beat about 7 players, and then
slipped it to
motorway pizza. Yeah,
had the shot, the goalie,
and he
palmed it off to the edge of the box.
He
and I
smashed it in from 2 yards. Yeah.
Great goal though.
It was a great goal.
It's one of my favourite goals. And then you see the cop coming down.
Yeah, you do. That was one of the times where you see it over the years. But that was one of the few times I've seen it really when it did actually come sway.
The cop come
it come swaying down because the whole momentum of the move and the goal was sensational.
But don't forget, what's the French player, the famous French player was at the game.
Platini
was at the game. And he highly praised for our team, one of the best teams he said he's ever seen at that game. We won, also with a super team, we know that. We won 2-0. Peter scored another great goal with some great movement for second half. And yeah, it was, you watch that. For any Liverpool fan who hasn't seen it, just Google that goal. Arsenal 2-0, 89, I think it was, or 88.
I think it was 88.
88, sorry.
I think it was 88.
And it's just a fantastic football goal.
Sensational.
Well done, mate.
Yeah.
Great pass. Did it come down as an assist or the goal? Oh no, Peter got the assist.
Peter got the assist.
Unlucky, mate.
Pathetic, isn't it?
I always say that was Macca's goal, not mine. I just tapped him, but without him, that was a tremendous piece of football.
I have to say, in moments like this, the viewers will feel maybe like James and I do. There's nothing that we can contribute. We see you two like gel, even on this podcast, like you used to do on the pitch. And it's fascinating. It's mind-blowing. It might be my second pint of Mahu that speaks there.
yeah, probably. And it's free.
But honestly,
I like the Mahu, by the way.
It is free for me. But I just love the chemistry. It's absolutely brilliant. Steve, a couple of months ago, you texted me saying you had some people here from South America, and so could I look after them? And you said, I'm at the hotel, where are you? And I saw you out in the beer garden, and you were on your phone and you were giggling to yourself or chuckling to yourself. And I said, what are you chuckling? And you watched a reel of all your toughest challenges that you've ever made on your opposition. And I just found that funny because your reputation was always to be like a hard man,
someone had sent me the 2 minutes of my tackles.
It's
and I couldn't watch it.
It's bloody brilliant. And you were laughing along, seeing you hurting other players quite badly.
I do apologise.
Yeah, I bet you have. I bet you have.
But they were ruthless.
But did you relish them?
No, but
at the time,
I didn't relish them. In that day and age, you either did it or you get it done to you.
You live and die by the sword.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you have to
live by it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you put yourself out there, so you got to accept the consequences, and you got to accept things that happen in the game if you're going to be there to inflict. Like the Grim Reaper punishment, and you've got to accept the punishment that comes your way as well. It's the game. You shake hands. I mean, the players I played against, that's all it was about. Clatter and get up in the dressing room. Then we go in the lounge, shake hands, have a beer with each other. It was what it was. It was what it was. And the Derby game, the last Derby game at Goodison, didn't surprise me. It might have surprised half of our team, because they didn't realise how violent and how passionate that Derby games can get. Because very rarely has it been like that over the past Derby games. And I knew it was going to be like that because the last Derby game at Goodison.
Yeah.
You try telling some of the foreigners that the game is going to be up there for adrenaline and for intensity. And we didn't have that. And we nearly got away with 3 points. Nearly. Yeah. And that's how passionate it was, but I could see it coming.
But in them days when we played, the tackles, now, you didn't even get booked for a tackle, and that nowadays would be a proper red. Wouldn't even think about it. And the referee just warn you. Like early on, someone was trying to put the mark on me. They had the free hit, the centre-halves. I'm just going back to you had Vinnie Jones in the cup final straight away. They tried to make, now that's a red card. In our days, the referee just said, "No, come on, You can't do that. Can't just finger
It's
that.
your first foul.
As though he's
Like,
you get a free. You get a free hit. Everyone had a free hit. You know, in the first half, basically, didn't you?
I think the referee knew before the game he'd go, there's a few bottles here.
Yeah.
That I've got to make sure that if I say anything, I just got to turn a blind eye to it. I've got to go, whoops, so Daisy didn't say it. Because he knew that if he gives one card, he's got to give another card and another card. So it was like you give and take, and you knew how far to go. And that was the big thing when we played. Yeah, okay, you've got one up on me there, my turn. So, you know,
And
without going too far.
You get your little personal books as well, you know what I mean? Like when Vinny done Steve done him back twice as hard, you know, next up. So Jack Charlton was the first one to have the books, the little books. And so whoever done you, that he was in your book. So you'd have to wait in the old days, the 60, well, 50, 60, 70, and 80, to get your opportunity to do the player back. And it always happened. And the referees were good referees in them days. You know, they didn't make many bad decisions, to be quite honest.
Somebody was the best at it, Bruce Rayok. He knew that if someone did him, because he was an animal, Bruce. He certainly could leave it in.
Did you play alongside him at Everton?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was one time, it was later on in the game, he'd already beat someone done him early on. But he said, if you're going to get done, you're going to get a red card. Get it later on, 85th, 88th minute. Because there's not much they can do then for 2 or 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. I wish Steve Nicol would have got a red card when we played Arsenal.
Oh, yeah.
He could have brought them down.
Yeah.
He could have dragged them down.
Or Barnes could have gone in the corner. Or I could have handballed it after. Anyway, that gives me nightmares. Let's talk about that, by the way.
You mentioned obviously the Wimbledon game. Well, because you won one double, you probably could have won 3, 4. 4?
Should have done.
Well, we won one double.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace in the semi-finals.
Oh, yeah, the semi, yeah.
We beat them 9-0 in the league.
Yeah.
A few weeks before.
4-3.
And then we beat us 4-3.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Beat us 1-0 and we'd won the league.
Yeah.
And then we'd won the FA Cup and then Arsenal got beat 2-0. Now there's 4 out in 5 years.
Yeah.
Now that tells you what a side we had.
Yeah. So Wimbledon, what? Because obviously there's a lot in the aftermath of that. A lot gets talked about. You underestimated them. Do you think that's true or not?
Not in a million years. No. We weren't that type. We didn't go into games underestimating. We went into games knowing
they had a good team.
Yeah, they had a decent team, and they worked on Don Howe was their head coach, and I worked with Don with England, and he was set piece. So they knew that they were a big, strong side, and they worked on set pieces, and they scored from a set piece with Sanchez. And it's not rocket science. That's what they try and do against the opposition. In general play, we battered them. My first time in an FA Cup final, Aldo missed a penalty, and they moved on.
Welcome to the end of part 2 of 3.
And Peter Beasley had a goal disallowed, which was miles onside. Miles onside.
He didn't play the advantage, did he? That's what he did. He should have that's where he pulled it back.
Pulled it back for a free kick for you.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what he should have done.
So, I mean, there was mitigating circumstances. So, but it wasn't because we underestimated them, or we took them lightly, or because Vinnie Jones tackled me in the first 30 seconds.
No.
Nothing to do that. It was.
Do you know what?
Because Aldo missed a penalty.
No, I always. You think about this, and the older you get, you think, and you get a little bit more wiser. And you know, I look back on that. We won the league against Tottenham with quite a few games to spare, and then I think Spackers, or Jockey, and had a collision with Spackers, didn't he? And we played a few games. Luton at home, we only drew 1-1, and we went off the ball because the league was done. We didn't get beat. I don't think we might have got beat against Forest, by the way, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But after we won the league, we didn't get beat. But we weren't at it for some reason. And I think because the league was won so easy, we took our foot off the ball, our eye off the ball or something, because where we were just fluent and doing things like that, we weren't like that in the last few games. And I think going into Wimbledon, we weren't quite at it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, but I think because the league was won a bit early, we lost a little bit
momentum.
Because we had some good chances in the first half. Best pulled off a few great saves. you know, Peter's goal should have been allowed, and the referee made a mistake. And, you know, obviously the penalty was the best save I've ever seen in my life. And you know, the rest is history, you know. But
it's one of them.
Can we change the subject now, please?
How about the Arsenal game then in '89? Because
for fuck's sake, that's even worse.
People remember you holding up the one finger.
That was your fault.
Yeah, my fault.
Blaming me. Like obviously Barnsley could have killed
into the corner.
Yeah, run it in the corner.
See, if there was ever a player who could hold the ball for 1 minute, at least 2 minutes possibly, would have been him in a corner flag.
Yeah.
And he tried to be Billy Big Balls and try and score a goal. And
that's just the way we were.
And he didn't have to.
He didn't want us to get beat, so he's going for an equaliser when it didn't matter.
And you know, there's lots of things where in hindsight you go, mate, yes, maybe he should have kept the ball and gone and tried to get a corner or a throw in. And then when it got flicked on, you know, Nico should have brought him down. And there's lots of things that you think that should have happened.
Yeah.
And everyone asked me, did Kenny set you up not to go forward and not to try and score? No. Subconsciously, when you don't need to go and get a goal, subconsciously you don't want to get, whereby we just mentioned earlier, the third man running, getting in the box, and I'm thinking if I run into the box, and if I run, get into the box and the ball breaks down and then I've left the spaces behind, then it's going to be stupid.
Yeah.
So subconsciously you sit in there and you're safe and you think you're safe. Yeah. And when the first goal went in, you know, that was the arse switching then came about.
That was really
so
hard.
A lot of people could maybe smell it a little bit.
Yeah. Really hard to see. Out of everything, you know, in football, that's probably, away from Hillsborough itself, that was the hardest moment to take that.
It was.
Know, after all we put in that season, you know, and after Hillsborough, obviously, and won the cup, and give Arsenal a due, they're a really good team. It's just, you know, we should have seen it out. Maybe tiredness, what we went through. You can make a lot of excuses up.
Yeah.
But, it's one step too far. Yeah. One step too far.
But the following year, you regained the title, your third title with Liverpool, and you had, you know, that must have been a big, proud moment for you leading the team out against Derby, wasn't it? When you got the league trophy, I think, because Jockey and Ronnie Whelan were both out injured.
Yeah, and I was captain on the day when we lifted that trophy. Yeah. But Jockey and Ronnie soon got changed into the kit.
They did a John Terry.
And run on pitch as if they'd been playing. And left me floundering on the pitch. But no, I mean, that was it. Again, for me, that's one of our greatest achievements, that, James, it really is, because of the top teams do that. We had that season when Arsenal obviously beat us on that last game. We'd had the Hillsborough to contend with and everything that went on with that in the way it happened. And for us to come back the following season and win the league trophy, I think probably was the best league championship I've probably won, because of the fact that we had so much inner strength to go on and kick on that next season. And it would have been easy for us just to fall by the wayside. No, we didn't. Yeah. Heads were up and we were back at it again the following season.
Great mentality, that.
Yeah. And then obviously the end of your Liverpool career, it was late 91, wasn't it? Obviously Kenny has gone, Graham Souness has come in, you moved to Manchester City. Did you just feel like it was time to go? Obviously there'd been a lot, and then with Souness was trying to change a lot, and there was some friction with senior players. And
you're right, he wasn't trying to change it, he changed it.
Yeah.
He tried to, and I wasn't particularly happy. I knew the things that he was doing weren't right for the football club. I knew the players he was getting in weren't right for the football club. And I had 4.5 years left. That's a fallacy, and it's wrong for people to say, let me go. He didn't. I asked to go. I asked to leave. He didn't step me away, mind you. He didn't try and convince me to stay, which is a different story. I mean, we go on and we do a little bit of after dinner stuff, me and Aldo, and we talk about it. And it's quite funny. And when I wanted it, and I said, I think it's time for me to move on because things are not going particularly well. And he had an in-depth conversation with me, and it went something like this: okay.
He's making me just say, "Oh, have a little think about it, Steve."
No rushing 20.
He said, okay, and I said, okay. And he said, okay. And I said, okay then.
That's blokes.
And I got up and walked out and I thought, I want to say I'm only joking. But I just said on the way out, okay then.
Well, okay, that's the end of part 2 of Aldo Meets with Steve McMahon. We'll be back shortly. Right, welcome back to the part 3. It's going to be a special one, this, because we're going. There's so much to talk about with Steve about his England time, and obviously we've only touched a little bit on Hillsborough, and hopefully if we win the league. So this is going to be part 1 of a part 2 podcast with Macca. So just bear with us on that. But I've got to ask you before the end of the part 1 podcast, you've got to pick a 5-a-side team based on the best players you played with during your career. So in goal.
Neville Southall.
That's me, Neville's boss, wasn't he?
He was top. But if you're talking about 5-a-side, Bruce was great out.
That's a good shout.
So he'd come out and play.
Bruce
so easy sweeper. Easy sweeper keeper.
Yeah.
I mean, Neville wasn't as good as Bruce. So in the 5-a-side, you'll need your playmaking goalkeeper. So I'll probably go for Bruce on terms of the playmaker, yeah.
In
a 5-a-side, you only need one probably defender.
Yeah.
You going for Jockey?
I don't know. Lotto was probably better in maybe that 5-a-side.
Okay.
Because he didn't want to get injured, Jockey, did he?
Okay.
So maybe Lotto. Jockey was obviously a top player, but Lotto in that, if I'm purely thinking of a 5-a-side team.
Yeah.
Barnesy has to play.
Yeah.
I think Modo, Peter Beardsley's in there.
Okay.
I mean, he's great in the 5-a-side.
You're going attacking, aren't you, here, by the way?
Well, yeah, of course.
One more
myself.
player. Fuck off, you're not good enough to in the 5-a-side.
That's only 4 of us.
Going for the goalie in?
Yeah, but listen. If I know that people are watching this, and they've just heard me say about a midfield player going forward, scoring goals, and coming back and defending.
Okay.
And that's what I'd do.
Okay, so Jan doesn't get in now?
He would.
Ronnie doesn't get in now?
Well, Ronnie doesn't, no.
What about the England players that played in England? Were you better than all them?
Yeah, Gaza. Well, I thought you meant for Liverpool. Well, Gaza would get in. Gaza would get in the side. Instead of, I'd probably get instead of me. So, you get Jan to be in there.
Gaza's a bit of a liability.
So we're on about 8.
So how many? Well, I've got to pick how many. So
it's an 8.
So you've got to be good.
All right, I apologise. I'm just putting words into Steve. Go, somebody George, mate. Go on. So, go on. That's right. So you got to go Bruce, Lotto, Barnesy, Peter, and one more, and yourself.
You got to put guys in, I suppose.
You can't defend. You got to. You're going to get twatted every game, aren't you?
You wouldn't get the ball off us.
Oh, that's fair enough. I get that. Yeah, that's true enough. Yeah.
Which leads us nicely into the last part of the podcast.
The last part of the podcast, everyone knows, is the quiz for Macca. 6 questions. You know what? 6 questions, don't you? 6
what? Did he say 6?
No.
Oh,
6.
6.
Why
It's what Liverpool have done over the years.
Yeah, 6 times.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah. So 6 questions. James, the quiz master.
Yes.
So I can't give any help, mate.
Come on, James.
Number 1.
Trust me, I haven't seen them as well.
Okay. You were sent off playing against Liverpool for Villa at Anfield in September 1983.
Correct.
Which future Liverpool player played alongside you for Villa that day?
Future Liverpool player?
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to get that. It's a piece of piss.
If that helps.
That's a clue.
It's,
Winger.
Winger. It wasn't Ray Houghton, he didn't. I mean, he played for Villa, but not
Afterwards. I was afterwards.
yeah.
When you were playing.
Mark Walters.
Correct.
Yes.
Number 2. Who did you make your Liverpool debut against?
It was Oxford United, all those teams.
You were playing against them.
And Ray Houghton made his debut for Oxford.
You scored that day, yeah?
I scored.
2
did,
each.
2 each, yeah.
And Ray Houghton made his debut for Oxford.
Not that,
Rushy ended up getting carried off, and Ronnie Whelan got carried off. It was always
Yeah.
just in that sense of halves.
And then we only had one
You're like the
shot
Craig
then.
twins.
It was my debut. It was my debut and Alan Kennedy's last ever game.
Oh, okay.
He scored an own goal last minute. I was
5 minutes,
chasing
yeah.
a long ball. Liverpool winning 2-1, and I'm putting him under pressure. And he's put it back in the goal, thinking Bruce was there, but Bruce was having a fag at the
Bruce was playing father side with the supporters.
Right, number 3.
2 out of 2.
With 277 games for
Me.
Liverpool,
Yeah.
you're level on the club's all-time list of appearances with a former Liverpool manager. Can you name him?
Ooh.
Former Liverpool.
Yeah.
Was he permanent manager or was he,
He was a
caretaker?
an iconic permanent manager. Played
Iconic.
277 games for Liverpool.
I'd have thought Chineso played a lot more than 277.
So this has played more, yeah.
So it's not him.
It wouldn't have been Roy Evans. He played about 2. Roy Hodgson never played for anyone.
No.
You've got me on it.
Bob Paisley.
Bob Paisley. Well, I wouldn't have got that.
Number 4. You netted 50 goals for Liverpool. Who did you score 4 against in one game?
Fulham missed a penalty.
You missed the penalty as well?
Yeah.
Did you?
Should have
I'd
been 5.
already scored
Was that in
4.
the league?
No, it was a cup.
Oh, what I?
I'd already scored 10.
Oh, I remember that.
Paul Parker played for Fulham. I kept reminding them. But yeah, I'd already scored the 4 and then missed a penalty for 5. Hit the bar, come down.
Number 5. Who did you score your last Liverpool goal against? It was in December 91.
Man City.
Forest.
Was it?
And number 6. Who am I? Clue
I'm
number.
Steve McMahon.
Correct.
It was easy.
Clue number 1. Like Steve McMahon, I played for both Liverpool and Man City during my playing career. Clue 2. Just like
Steve McMahon.
no.
No.
Correct.
Oh, that was quick.
Hold on. So
The final clue was I also played for Australian side Perth Glory,
Yeah, Robbie Fowler.
a side who Steve managed.
Roberto. God. Yeah.
4 out of 6.
Not
bad,
bad
mate.
at all.
Highly
Not bad.
respectable.
Well done, pal. Well done.
Steve, thanks very much.
Thanks, James.
Mate, Steve,
Thanks.
first one.
Thank you
very
all.
much.
Can't
Wait
wait
for
Steve
the
in
second
particular.
one.
Thanks, everyone. Pleasure.
End of part 1.
I'm late for my day job now.
Steve McMahon. And we'll be back shortly.